welcome to the Deep Dive. We're diving into books that kind of open up doors to deeper awareness, those aha moments that kind of shift how we see things.
It's like those books that leave you thinking differently long after you finish them.
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah.
So each deep dive is like custom made, right? You give us the material and we help you pull out like the real gems, the insights you can actually use.
It's like having a personal guide through the material. Kind of fun.
Yeah, exactly. And for our very first dive, we're tackling a book that seems to have sparked quite the journey for you. School of the Gods by Stefano Elio D'Anna.
I was really struck by the D'Anna presents personal transformation. He doesn't frame it as like fluffy self-help, but it's more like this radical rethinking of like who we are, what we're capable of.
It definitely dives into some deep waters for sure. One of the first things that grabbed me was this whole idea of the School of the Gods. What is that all about?
Okay, so it's not like a physical place. It's not like you're going to find a building.
Yeah.
It's more a process, a school of transformation, really. D'Anna uses this to challenge how we think about, like, death. Not as an ending, but more as this ultimate resistance to truth.
Whoa. That really flips the script.
Yeah.
So instead of fearing death, we should be embracing life, embracing those moments that push us to confront those limits, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And, that ties into the book's big emphasis on personal responsibility. You're not like a victim, right? You are the architect, the creator of your experience. So no more excuses. Own your power. That
can be a really scary thought for some, but also incredibly liberating. Now, there's this recurring character throughout the book, this dreamer. Who is this mysterious figure?
So initially, the dreamer is presented as like a character in the book representing a higher level of consciousness.
Okay.
But as you keep reading, it turns out the dreamer is actually D'Anna's inner master, his own like internal guide.
Oh, so he's basically saying we all have this dreamer within us, just like waiting to be awakened. What a cool concept.
Absolutely. It really makes you think, like, who is your dreamer? What wisdom is like whispering inside you, just waiting to be heard?
That's like giving me goosebumps. Okay, let's unpack some of the key concepts from like the School of the Gods philosophy.
Okay.
One that really resonated with me was this idea that the world is like a reflection of our inner state.
Right. It's a profound idea, really. It has like really far-reaching implications, It made me think of one of the most powerful scenes in the book. It involves a woman named Louisa who's dying from cancer.
Hold on. How does that reflect the whole inner world thing?
Well, D'Anna presents Louisa's death not as like this random thing that happened, but as almost like a manifestation of the protagonist's own inner turmoil and anguish.
Yeah.
He's suggesting that things that happen outside often mirror our internal landscape in a way.
Okay, so if I'm like stressed and chaotic, my outer world will kind of reflect that back to me.
Exactly. It's like looking in a mirror, right? If you don't like what you see, you don't smash the mirror. You change what's being reflected.
Yeah, makes sense. And this is where the book's interpretation of the Narcissus myth really got me thinking.
That's a great example, yeah. D'Anna kind of reframes that whole story. He's saying it's not about vanity, like we usually hear. It's about, like, mistaking our own projections for reality, in a way.
It's like we get so caught up in our stories and our perceptions that we forget to see the world as it is.
Yeah. He even connects it to the biblical story of Adam and Eve. Like, every time we forget our own creative power, blame outside forces, we're basically being expelled from paradise.
Whoa, okay, mind-blown moment here. That's a much deeper way to look at those stories than I ever have before.
Right, and that's what makes School of the Gods so compelling. It pushes you to question your assumptions and kind of see the world through a fresh lens.
Another concept that really grabbed my attention was this idea of the adversary. Sounds ominous. Is this like a villain we need to conquer, defeat?
Not quite. The adversary is more like a challenging coach, a figure who pushes you beyond your comfort zone, reveals your weaknesses, but ultimately guides you toward wholeness.
So instead of fearing the adversary, we should be thanking him for like showing us where we need to grow.
It's a paradoxical idea, but that's part of it. He describes the adversary as like even a fragmented part of ourselves, like a lost piece that we need to reclaim to become whole again.
That's deep. So it's about like integrating those shadow sides, those aspects of ourselves that we tend to reject, deny, It almost makes those difficult people in our lives seem less like enemies and more like, I don't know, unintentional gurus.
You could think of it that way, yeah. The book suggests that the adversary, through conflict, through challenge, is actually our greatest ally on the road to self-mastery.
Okay, I'm going to need to ponder that one for a while.
Yeah.
Another idea that stood out was this concept of programming. Is this like computer programming he's talking about?
Not in the literal sense, no. He uses programming to describe how clinging to, like, rigid plans and schedules, it can reinforce the illusion of being alive.
Wait, so planning is bad?
Yeah.
I love my to-do lists.
He's not saying to abandon it all, right? It's more about finding that balance between preparing for the future and being present in the now. Like, over-planning can rob us of that richness of the present moment.
So maybe it's about creating space for spontaneity. You know, for those unexpected moments that make life so interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Think about a time you veered off schedule and something amazing happened that you wouldn't have planned.
Right.
That's what he's getting at.
That makes a lot of sense. The book also talks about the importance of vision. But it's not just any vision, is it?
Right. He emphasizes authentic vision, a vision that comes from, like, a place of integrity, where your thoughts, your words, your actions, they're all aligned.
So it's not about forcing things or chasing, like, external validation, but about becoming like a living embodiment of the vision.
That's the key. And here's the really fascinating part. He suggests this kind of vision has a magnetic quality almost. It attracts the resources and opportunities it needs.
Wait, so if I have a clear vision and I am truly living in alignment with it, the universe will conspire to help me. Like magic.
That's the idea, yeah. It's like the universe is saying, okay, I see you're serious about this. Here's some tools, some connections, some open doors.
Now that's powerful stuff. And it makes me think of another concept. The idea that fear is just degraded love.
It's one of his most profound insights, I think. He's saying fear and love are two sides of the same coin, really. When we conquer fear, we open ourselves to that expansive power of love.
It's like fear keeps us small and constricted, and love expands us, connects us to something bigger than ourselves.
Exactly. And when we free ourselves from that fear, we're not only capable of experiencing more love, but also of accessing our full creative potential.
Now this leads to another really mind-blowing concept. This illusion of sickness. I mean, is he saying sickness doesn't exist?
He's definitely challenging those conventional views we have on health and illness. He suggests that sickness is more like a signal from the body, a signal reflecting imbalances within us.
So it's about looking beyond the symptoms and asking, what's my body trying to tell me? What needs to shift in my life?
Exactly. Think about it. Think about a recent time you felt unwell. Was there an emotional pattern there or a mental one? Deanna's saying that by addressing those internal imbalances, we can create the conditions for healing.
This deep dive is already giving me so much to think about, and we've only scratched the surface. There are so many thought-provoking ideas in School of the Gods, like the idea that genuine belief is this creative force that shapes our reality.
Right. He's suggesting that if we truly believe in something, we'll start to see evidence of it everywhere.
So if I believe I'm capable of achieving great things,
Yeah.
we'll start to attract opportunities that support that.
That's the power of belief. It's not wishful thinking. It's about aligning your thoughts, emotions, and actions with the reality you want to create.
And speaking of creation, there's this concept of the art of dreaming, which sounds kind of mystical. What is that all about?
It's not about, like, sleeping and dreaming, but about consciously shaping your reality, using your mind. He outlines specific practices for aligning your intentions with your actions, cultivating self-awareness, basically becoming the architect of your own life.
It's about taking ownership, not just reacting.
That's it. Recognizing that you are not just a passive observer, but an active participant. You have the power to shape your destiny.
Welcome back to the deep dive. I'm really excited to go a little deeper into the practical side of School of the Gods, you know, like how to use it.
Me too. We covered some really heavy, profound ideas, but I'm definitely curious, like, how do we actually apply all this philosophy? How does it work in real life?
Yeah, totally. Well, let's go back to this whole idea of the world being a reflection. Remember we talked about Luisa's death and how Deanna presented that as a manifestation of, like, the protagonist's inner turmoil? Yeah. That was pretty intense. So if I want to change something in my world outside of me, I need to change something inside of me first.
That's a great place to start, yeah. Like, imagine you're feeling stuck in a job, like a dead end. Instead of just blaming your boss or the company, right? Take a minute. Reflect a little. What beliefs about yourself, about work, might be contributing to that experience.
That's interesting. So if I, like, deep down believe I'm not worthy of a fulfilling career, that belief could be showing up in my reality.
Exactly. And by seeing those beliefs, those limiting beliefs, you can start to shift them. And the book gives you some actual techniques like affirmations, visualizations, even just being more aware of your self-talk can help.
So if I catch myself thinking I'm not good enough, I can consciously replace that with something, I don't know, more empowering, more positive.
You got it. And that's where the whole art of dreaming comes in. Remember, it's not about daydreaming. It's about shaping your reality consciously. One thing he suggests is to create a vision board, like a visual representation of your ideal life.
Oh, I've heard of those. It's like you create a collage with images, words that represent your goals, like put it all together.
Yeah, and by focusing on those images and feeling the emotions, you start to align your energy with your desired reality.
So you're sending the universe like a really clear message about what you want to create.
Precisely. Now, another powerful tool he talks about is this practice of recapitulation. It's basically taking time each day to review your experiences, the good and the bad ones.
Like a mental replay of my day.
Yes, but there's a little more to it. Instead of just reliving it, you look for the lessons hidden there. Like ask yourself, what did I learn? What was my role in this? Could I have done anything different?
Okay, so it's a way to become more conscious of my choices and how they play out their consequences.
Yeah. Exactly. And that awareness gives you more power, right? More power to create the life you want. Okay, one thing that I had to really think about was this idea of paying in advance.
Yeah, that one's a little mind-bending for sure. Like Deanna is saying that the resources we get in life are a reflection of investments we've already made.
Think of it like the universe keeps a ledger, a cosmic bank account. It's tracking everything.
What?
And those choices aren't just about money or things, right? They're about your thoughts, your beliefs, your actions, even your intentions.
So if I'm always thinking negatively, acting out of fear, I'm basically paying in advance for negative experiences.
That's the idea. But here's the good news. You can choose to pay for positive experiences too, right? Positive thoughts, courageous actions, integrity, generosity. You're making deposits.
That's a pretty powerful way to look at it. It's not about reward or punishment from some outside force. It's about creating my own flow of abundance, good or bad, through my choices.
Exactly. And that abundance isn't just money or stuff. It's about love, joy, creativity, meaningful relationships, all the good stuff.
I'm seeing how this whole paying in advance idea ties into the world as a reflection thing, right? If I want to experience more abundance and joy, I have to cultivate those inside myself first.
You got it. And here's another really powerful tool that can help you with that. Gratitude.
Oh yeah, I've heard about the power of gratitude. But how does that fit in with paying in advance?
Well, when you practice gratitude, you're basically acknowledging the good that's already there. You're saying to the universe, hey, I see the abundance and I appreciate it.
So it's about shifting my focus from what I lack to what I already have.
Exactly. And that little shift in focus and energy can create huge momentum. You start attracting more good things. Now,
one of the things I'm still having a hard time with is this idea that illness doesn't exist. I mean, we all get sick, right?
It definitely takes a different perspective, yeah. Remember, Deanna sees illness as a signal, like a sign from your body reflecting some imbalance inside.
So instead of just treating the symptoms, we need to be looking at the underlying causes.
That's the key. Think of it this way. Imagine you have a headache that just won't go away. Instead of popping a pill, ask yourself, what's my body trying to tell me? Is there something in my life I'm ignoring?
So maybe the sign I need to slow down, set some boundaries, or deal with, some emotional stuff I've been pushing down.
It could be. The key is to listen to your body, see illness as a messenger, not an enemy.
That's a good way to reframe it for sure. It takes away some of the fear, right? And it empowers me to be more proactive.
Okay.
But how does this all relate back to the dreamer? How I connect with my dreamer and access that wisdom inside?
Great question. He says the dreamer speaks to us in many ways. Through our intuition, through dreams, through synchronicities, even through those tough experiences that push us out of our comfort zone.
So it's about paying attention to those little nudges, those moments of insight.
Exactly. One practice that can really help you tune in is meditation.
Oh, meditation.
By creating space for stillness, for silence, you allow those inner whispers to become louder.
I've tried meditating before, but my mind always goes crazy. Any tips?
It takes practice, right? It's not about clearing your mind completely. Focus on your breath, the sensations in your body. Gently redirect your attention when it wanders.
So it's more about observing my thoughts than trying to, like, force them to be quiet.
Exactly. And the more you practice, the easier it becomes to access those deeper states where your dreamer kind of hangs out.
Okay, that makes sense. But how do I know if I'm really connecting with my dreamer? Or if I'm just, like, making things up?
That's a common question. One way to tell is to notice the quality of the guidance. Does it feel expansive, empowering, aligned with your highest values?
So if it feels like constricting, fearful, or just coming from my ego, it's probably not my dreamer.
Right. Trust your intuition. It's like developing any relationship. The more you listen, the more you trust, the clearer it gets.
Okay, that's helpful. And the book also talks a lot about integrity. How does that fit into the transformation process?
Integrity is huge, yeah. Remember how Deanna emphasized that authentic vision comes from integrity, where your thoughts, words, and actions are all in sync?
Right, so it's not enough to just have a great vision. I actually have to walk my talk.
Exactly. It's about being true to yourself, your values, your commitments. When you live with integrity, you create this powerful alignment within yourself. And that alignment attracts the resources you need to actually fulfill your vision.
It's like integrity creates this magnetic field that pulls good things into your life.
That's a good way to put it. And the more integrity you embody, the stronger that magnetic field becomes.
Wow, okay. This is making me really take stock of my own life. Am I living with integrity? Am I aligned with my values?
Those are great questions to ask. School of the Gods is full of these little invitations for self-inquiry.
Now, one concept that I'm still wrapping my head around is Deanna's view of sex. He talks about it as like a path to spiritual wholeness. That's a bit different from what I usually hear.
I get it. It's definitely one of his more provocative ideas. But remember, he's not talking about sex in like a purely physical or recreational way. It's more like a pathway to transcendence.
So how do we bridge that gap? How do we go from seeing sex as just a physical act to like a spiritual practice?
It starts with awareness. He says that by bringing consciousness to the act, by being fully present with your partner, by honoring the sacredness of your bodies and the energy exchange, you can transform it into a really profound experience of connection and unity.
So it's about more than just pleasure then. It's about intimacy, vulnerability, a deep connection.
Exactly. And Deanna suggests that this kind of conscious lovemaking can help us heal old wounds, release limiting beliefs, even access higher states of consciousness.
That's powerful. But he also talks about how, like, humanity has kind of distorted the true nature of sex, right?
He does. He points out how we've turned it into a commodity, entertainment, even a weapon. And this distortion has created a lot of suffering, individually and collectively.
So it's about reclaiming that sacredness, honoring its power to heal and transform.
Exactly. And that's a journey that takes honesty, self-awareness, and a willingness to really challenge our own beliefs.
This deep dive is making me rethink so many things. And we still have more to unpack. School of the Gods has so much in it, like this idea that true wealth doesn't come from money or possessions, but from the expansion of our being.
That's a beautiful concept, yeah. Deanna suggests that material wealth is often a reflection of your inner state of abundance. When we're aligned with our purpose and living from a place of integrity, we naturally attract the resources we need.
It's like when we focus on giving and serving others, the universe supports us.
Exactly. What you put out into the world comes back to you, often in a bigger way.
Wow. Okay. We've covered so much already, and there are still so many interesting ideas from School of the Gods left to explore, like this idea, the victim is always guilty.
That one's definitely hard for a lot of people to swallow, I know. But remember, Deanna isn't condoning victimization. He's just inviting us to look at our role in creating our reality, even when it's painful.
So it's not about blaming ourselves for bad things, but more about empowering ourselves to make different choices, change our belief, become responsible for our own happiness.
You got it. It's a really challenging perspective, but it can be incredibly liberating too.
It's a recurring theme in the book, right?
Yeah.
Embracing challenges as opportunities for growth and transformation.
Totally. Deanna wants us to see that we're not victims. We're powerful creators. We have so much more power than we realize.
And that connects to another big idea from the book, the power of the will. But this isn't about willpower in the usual sense, right?
No, it's much deeper. He sees the will as this force that aligns our actions with our values, with our intentions.
So it's about making a choice to act in alignment with our purpose, even when it's tough.
Exactly. It's about becoming the masters of our own destiny. Not by forcing things, but through conscious choice.
This deep dive is giving me like a whole new language to think about personal growth. I'm seeing how all these concepts fit together. The world as a reflection, the adversary, paying in advance, the power of the will, it's all connected.
It is, and it all comes down to empowerment. D'Anna wants us to realize we're not just pawns in some game, but powerful creators. We can shape our reality.
I love this. But sometimes I feel like my life is just, random events. How do I tap into that feeling of actually being in control?
That's where the art of dreaming comes in again. Remember, it's about becoming conscious of your choices, aligning your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions with the reality you want.
So it's not about denying the hard stuff or pretending life is always easy, but choosing to see the challenges as opportunity.
That's it. And when you embrace that perspective, you stop feeling like a victim and start feeling like the master of your own fate.
That's a powerful shift. But where do I start? How do I apply this to my actual everyday life?
A great place to begin is with self-awareness. Just pay attention. Your thoughts, your emotions, your reactions, your patterns.
Look, I'm becoming a scientist of my own inner world.
Exactly. Observe without judgment. What beliefs are driving your actions? What fears are holding you back?
And once I see those limiting beliefs and fears, how do I change them?
The book has a bunch of techniques. You can try affirmations to reprogram your subconscious, visualize your desired reality. Journaling can help process your emotions. You can even use rituals to symbolize the transformation you want.
Wow, so many options. It sounds like it's about finding what works for you and just experimenting.
Exactly. There's no one right way. The key is to find what resonates with you and commit to the journey.
Now, the book also mentions finding work that aligns with our passions, our purpose.
Yeah.
But what if I'm, stuck in a job I hate?
Remember, D'Anna isn't saying to quit your job necessarily. He's suggesting that we each have something unique to give to the world, and that aligning our work with our passions can make us feel deeply fulfilled.
So even if it's not my dream job, it's about finding ways to bring more of myself into my work.
Exactly. Ask yourself, what am I good at? What do I enjoy doing? How can I use my skills to make a positive impact even in this job?
So even if I'm stuck in a cubicle, I can find ways to express myself and make a difference.
Absolutely. Maybe it's taking on a new project or volunteering for a cause you care about. Even just bringing a more positive attitude to your current role can make a big difference.
That's empowering, right? It reminds me that even in a tough situation, I still have choices.
You do. And that sense of choice is what unlocks your true potential.
Now, one passage from School of God's really stuck with me. He says, remember, nothing is external. You are the only obstacle in the way of your evolution. There are no difficulties or limits whose origins you cannot discover in yourself. It's like saying the biggest challenges are the ones inside us.
It is, and it's a big challenge to our egos. Our egos love to blame everything else for our problems.
So instead of playing the victim, it's about taking responsibility for our own happiness, for our growth.
You got it. It's about realizing we have the power to choose our thoughts, beliefs, and actions. And by doing that, we create a reality that supports our evolution.
It's a radical idea, but so empowering. It means I'm not at the mercy of whatever happens to me. I can change it.
Exactly. And that brings us back to the art of dreaming. It's about consciously shaping your reality with your mind, with your will.
Now, one concept I'm still kind of wrestling with is this whole the victim is always guilty thing. It sounds kind of harsh, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. But again, D'Anna's not saying it's okay to victimize someone. He's just asking us to look at how we participate in creating our reality, even when it's painful.
So it's not blaming ourselves, but more about empowering ourselves to make different choices, right? To take responsibility for our own happiness.
Exactly. It's challenging, for sure, but so freeing, too.
It's another theme of the book, huh? Turning challenges into opportunities for growth and transformation.
Totally. He wants us to realize we're not victims. We're creators. We have way more agency than we think.
Okay, but what if someone's experienced, real trauma, abuse? Is it fair to say they're responsible?
That's a good point. We have to acknowledge that there are systems, injustices that cause suffering. D'Anna's not denying that.
So it's not about blaming individuals for everything.
No, it's more about realizing that even in those tough situations, we still have choices. We can choose how we respond, how we heal, how we move forward.
Okay, so it's a more nuanced perspective. It's about finding that strength inside, that resilience, even in the face of adversity.
Exactly. And knowing that healing and transformation are possible, even from the deepest wounds.
Now, another idea that really got me thinking was this idea of true wealth. D'Anna's saying it's not about money or possessions, but about expanding our being.
It's a beautiful idea. He's talking about the richness of your inner world, your capacity for love, compassion, understanding, creativity, joy.
So it's not about rejecting material things, but recognizing that real abundance comes from inside.
Exactly. And he says that when we cultivate that inner wealth, it spills over into our outer world. It attracts the resources we need for a good life.
I love that. It's like this ripple effect. It starts with us, and then it radiates outward.
Right. And that ripple effect can be incredibly powerful.
Now, the book also looks at work in a different way. It challenges the idea that work is, a necessary evil. D'Anna says that it can be a source of joy and creative expression when it aligns with your passions.
It's a fresh perspective, right?
Yeah.
He wants us to see work not as a burden, but as a chance to contribute our gifts to the world.
So it's not about finding the perfect job, but about finding work that aligns with my purpose, with what's important to me.
Exactly. And he says that when we find that alignment, work becomes a source of energy, inspiration. It's a way to connect with who we really are.
So it's about finding that sweet spot, right? Where our passions meet the needs of the world.
Yes. And then work becomes less about what you do and more about who you are.
I love that. It takes off so much pressure. I can find fulfillment and purpose in any work as long as I'm bringing my whole heart to it.
You're getting it, that sense of wholeness, of alignment. And that's what Dan is ultimately pointing to. He wants us to live integrated lives, where our work, our relationships, our creativity, and our spirituality are all connected, all expressions of who we really are.
That's a beautiful vision. And it makes me think about how often we try to keep those parts separate, right? Like work over here, play over there, my inner world separate from my outer world.
It's so common, yeah. But Deanna is inviting us to break down those walls, integrate all those parts of ourselves, and create a life that's both meaningful and fulfilling.
Now, he also talks about this idea of the missionary. He's suggesting that we're often drawn to help others in the areas where we need healing ourselves.
It's a fascinating perspective on service, right? He's saying true service comes from wholeness, not from needing to fix other people.
So it's not about hiding our wounds or pretending to be perfect. It's more about recognizing that our own healing journey can help us serve others better.
That's it. And he even suggests that as we heal our own wounds, our capacity to serve others naturally grows.
It's like our own healing becomes this ripple effect. It touches everyone around us.
That's right. And it reminds us that we're all connected and that our individual healing journeys can contribute to the well-being of everyone.
Now, D'Anna also kind of challenges how we think about intellectuals. He says that sometimes they get so caught up in their own minds that they lose touch with the practical side of life.
He's encouraging us to connect thought with action, to bridge the gap between theory and practice.
So it's not about becoming anti-intellectual, but more about becoming intellectuals who are like grounded in the real world and use their knowledge to actually make a difference.
Exactly. And that takes humility. It takes being willing to step out of our comfort zones and engage with the messy, complicated parts of life.
It's about seeing the world as our biggest classroom and knowing that wisdom comes from a mix of knowledge, experience, and action.
That's it. And when we embrace that way of learning and living, we unlock our potential. We become agents of positive change.
Now, one of the most challenging concepts in the book is that illness doesn't actually exist. D'Anna says that it's a signal from our body, reflecting imbalances within us, not just some random thing we catch.
It's a big change in how we usually think about health and sickness. He suggests that instead of just treating the symptoms, we need to deal with the root causes, which are often in our thoughts, beliefs, and emotions.
So it's about paying attention to what our bodies are telling us, trying to understand the message.
Exactly. He wants us to see illness as a messenger, not something to be afraid of, but something prompting us to make changes.
It's a chance for healing and transformation.
Exactly. And that shift takes self-awareness and responsibility.
So instead of just, taking medicine, we need to ask, what is my body trying to tell me? What needs to change?
That's the question. Go deeper.
There's a really interesting part where he talks about people with kidney problems being drawn to activities that require a lot of communication. He connects that to a need to compensate for a lack of connection and understanding.
It's like the body's trying to tell us something, through the very organ that's not working right.
That's wild. And speaking of communication, D'Anna also talks about how the world is always communicating with us. It's reflecting back who we are and what we need to learn, the big cosmic conversation.
And those messages aren't always easy to understand, right? Sometimes they come as challenges, roadblocks, or even what we think of as failures.
So those times when it feels like the universe is giving us a busy signal, Maybe it means we need to adjust our own frequency.
Exactly. It's about becoming more attuned to those subtler whispers, those signs, learning to read the messages in our everyday experiences.
Now, School of the Gods also talks about this idea of the universe, like a journey toward unity, not just inside ourselves, but also with like the universe as a whole.
It's a big idea, right? It challenges that feeling of being separate from everything around us. D'Anna says that we can achieve that unity through the art of dreaming, by aligning our intentions and actions, cultivating a sense of oneness.
So it's about recognizing that we're not like isolated. We're all interconnected parts of something bigger.
Exactly. And realizing that can be humbling, but also really empowering.
It makes me think of that quote, "No man is an island." You know, that one by John Donne.
Perfect example. And D'Anna encourages us to embrace that idea of interconnectedness, to see the divine in everyone, to recognize that what we do, the choices we make, they have a ripple effect. They impact everything.
Now, there's this part in the book where the protagonist is waiting for the dreamer. He's in a restaurant, feeling this mix of excitement and anxiety.
It's such a powerful scene. It captures that inner conflict we all feel, right? When we're on the edge of real change, part of us wants to grow, but we're also scared of the unknown. We don't want to let go of what's familiar.
Yeah, it's like we're drawn to the light, but also kind of afraid of what we'll find.
Right, and that tension, that struggle, is a necessary part of transformation.
It takes courage to face those fears, to step into the unknown.
Exactly. And D'Anna reminds us that we're not alone on that journey, you know? We have the support of the universe, our inner guide, and all those who've walked this path before us.
This whole deep dive has given me so much to think about. School of the Gods is like a mirror, not just to my life, but to the whole world.
I like that, yeah. The book definitely goes beyond the individual. He talks about this concept of a university. It's not a real place, more of an idea, like a vision for a new kind of education.
Okay. What's different about this university? Like, how is it different from regular schools?
It's about more than just learning facts. It's about waking up to our true potential and becoming leaders of a new humanity. It's a place where ethics and economics, action and contemplation, even financial power and love all come together.
Wow, that's ambitious. It sounds almost too good to be true.
It's a bold vision, yeah. But D'Anna believes we can get there if we're willing to change how we think, to take a more holistic, integrated approach to learning and living.
So instead of keeping subjects separate, we start to see how they're all connected. Like, how would that even work?
Imagine a school where students learn not just math and science, but also things like emotional intelligence, compassion, the principles of sustainable living, you know.
Yeah.
They're encouraged to explore their passions, to really think critically, and then use that knowledge to actually make a difference in the world.
So it's not just about getting a job, it's about preparing them to be engaged, responsible humans.
Exactly. And he believes this kind of education doesn't have to happen only in schools. It can happen anywhere, anytime.
It's like seeing life itself as the greatest teacher. Every experience, every interaction is a chance to learn and grow.
That's right. And when we approach life that way, with open mind and curiosity, the world becomes this amazing place of discovery.
I love that. The book also mentions psychic pollution. What is that exactly?
The dreamer uses that term to describe the negative thoughts, emotions, and behaviors that kind of contaminate our inner and outer worlds.
So like mental and emotional pollution.
Yeah. Just like we pollute the environment with toxins, we can pollute our mental atmosphere with negativity. Fear, judgment, anger, it all spreads.
And it doesn't just affect us, it affects everyone around us.
Exactly. D'Anna says our thoughts and emotions have a ripple effect. They impact the collective consciousness, even if we don't see it.
So it's not just about being nice, it's about actually cultivating a positive inner state for everyone's benefit.
That's a great way to put it. When we focus on love, compassion, gratitude, we create a more harmonious energy. It lifts everyone up.
Okay, so how do we fight that psychic pollution? Is it just about, thinking happy thoughts all the time?
It's not about denying your negative emotions. It's about becoming aware of them and then choosing to respond to them in healthier ways.
So if I'm feeling angry, instead of letting it build up, I could try journaling, talking to a friend, or maybe doing something physical to release that energy.
Those are all good examples, yeah. And D'Anna also emphasizes forgiveness, forgiving ourselves and others, because holding on to resentment and anger just keeps that negativity going.
Now, the book also talks about the universe as this, like, storehouse of knowledge and wisdom, stuff that's been passed down through generations.
It reminds us that we're not alone. We're part of a larger lineage, a chain of beings going way back in time.
And that includes not just our ancestors, but also our teachers, mentors, all the wise people who've shown us the way.
Exactly. And he encourages us to honor that lineage, to learn from the wisdom of the past and use it to guide us now and in the future.
So we're standing on the shoulders of giants, right?
Yeah.
We can learn from their mistakes and build on their successes.
That's the idea. And he says that this transmission of knowledge and wisdom, it doesn't just happen in formal ways, you know? It can be through stories, myths, rituals. It's woven into our cultures.
Like, wisdom is everywhere if we're open to seeing it.
That's right. And when we're open and curious, our lives become this amazing journey of learning and growth.
Now, there's this really vivid description in School of the Gods of like a city of the future, a place where people live in harmony with nature and technology, where material abundance and spiritual fulfillment go hand in hand.
It's definitely a utopian vision. But he believes it's possible if we're willing to change how we think and be in the world.
So it's not about rejecting technology, but about using it in a way that supports human evolution, that brings us closer to nature and to each other.
Exactly. He sees this city as a place where everyone has what they need to live fulfilling lives, where creativity blossoms and where the well-being of the planet is a priority.
It's inspiring, right? It shows us that we can create a better world for ourselves and future generations.
Right. And he encourages us to start with our imagination, to hold that vision in our minds and to take action, even small steps that move us in that direction.
It's about realizing that we're not just watching the future happen, we're creating it.
Exactly. When we embrace our creativity and act in alignment with our values, we contribute to a future that is beautiful and sustainable.
School of the Gods really gave us a lot to think about. It challenges so many ideas we have about reality, death, success, even time itself.
It's a book that pushes us out of our comfort zones, you know? It makes us question the stories we tell ourselves and embrace a bigger, more empowered vision of who we are and what we're capable of.
It's a call to wake up, to become the dreamers of our own lives and co-create a world that reflects the beauty, the wisdom, the love that's within each of us.
That's it. And remember, that transformation starts with just one step, one choice, one act of courage. So what's one small step you can take today to align with the vision you hold?
That's a great question to leave us with. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into School of the Gods. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep.